Hi, this is Dr. Lonnie Smith, and you're about to hear some incredible music by a very dear friend of mine, Mr. Robbie Robinson. Great conductor, arranger, and musician. Stick around.
Hello, everybody out there in Jam and Java land, and welcome to yet another, I gotta fix my jacket, another rendition, another episode, another chapter, another day in the life of Jam and Java. This is going to be somewhat of a bittersweet show because we are still lamenting, still mourning over the loss of one of the greatest Hammond organ players that ever graced this planet, and of course that was Dr. Lonnie Smith. And very sad that he's not with us anymore. He passed away 1 week ago today, last Monday afternoon. And there's a lot of stuff that we have in store, and we're going to start moving forward. We're going to have a celebration tonight of a great life, celebration of a great man, celebration of a great musician. And by the way, a word of caution here. Here's Becca Grandadier, my social media manager, director, put this note up. Just in case something happens with Facebook during tonight's show, we will be streaming live on YouTube. Apparently there's been a big issue with Facebook today. Facebook went down, I think, globally. How crazy is that? How can the world function without Facebook? So we stream this live on Facebook, and we stream this live on YouTube. So if you're having issues, and it looks like it came back on earlier today, a few hours ago, just before we went on line with Reach Out with Ray and Steve. And so bottom line is, if things are getting squirrely, Toby says Instagram, Twitter, and Messenger also was down since 10 o'clock this morning. Yes, all of those, I guess. Because I think Facebook owns everything. It's a new crazy world. And I do have a little bit more business here to take care of before we move forward, and that business would be, earlier today, I was on, early this morning, a podcast. I've never really done this podcast thing before, with a gentleman named Robert Miller, and that's his. Robert Miller, Follow Your Dream, and he does this podcast where he interviews a lot of different musicians and entertainers and people of other walks of life, too, that have followed their dream. And so you can go on and see it. Let's see. I have the link here. It's right here. FollowYourDreamPodcast.com. FollowYourDreamPodcast.com. But also, I guess I understand that you can listen to a podcast from a variety of sources. And you know what? Podcasts are an interesting animal because it's the radio. Last week, I think it was, Marty Brennaman, the announcer for the Cincinnati Reds, was my guest. And I find it fascinating because it's a different dynamic. It's a different rapport that you have when you're watching a video and watching and listening to something, as opposed to when you're just listening to something on the radio or something similar, or this a la this podcast situation. So thank you, Robert Miller, for having me on your show, and I appreciate that. So go out and check it out if you get a chance. Follow Your Dream Podcast with Robert Miller, and we talked about a bunch of different things, fun things. So let's see here. What else? Okay, Ruth says, you sound great here, so happy to be here. Well, great to have you, Ruth. Larry Vasaki, the podcast was great, so you listened to it. Good, that was fun. Or if lightning and thunder doesn't knock us off. Yeah, it's a new day in a new world, that's for sure. Well, without further ado, let's go to Pastor Chuck Pearson and ask him to lead us in prayer. Come on in, Pastor Chuck.
Good evening, everyone. I hope it's been a really great day for you, and I'm sure you're looking forward to a great program from Robbie this evening. I was talking with someone after church yesterday, and they reminded me of something that I need to do more often in my own life, and it focuses around Paul's advice to the Philippians in chapter 4 in verse 8, and he writes this way. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. One of the things about that passage is that when Paul writes if, he's kind of writing from the suggestion in the language, which would make it kind of an implied meaning. For example, if there is any excellence, and you know that there is, and if there is anything worthy of praise, and you know that there is, think about these things. Well, that's certainly not the way we're conditioned to think in our life, is it? In our world, in our society, and probably because of our human nature too. We focus on whatever is unpure. We focus on the bad news, everything that's going wrong, the things that just are not happening the way I want them to, or the sickness that I have, or this or that, or whatever it might be. We focus on all of those things instead of what Paul says is focusing on whatever is just and pure, lovely, and etc. I'm not suggesting that it's easy to adopt a Pollyanna attitude or that we should, that everything's just going to be happy and nice and sugar and all this stuff all the time. There are some devastating experiences that people go through, and maybe some of you this evening are going through some of those devastating experiences yourself. We do have setbacks. We go through things that don't work out the way we expect them to, or turn horribly wrong in our lives. But no matter how devastating life can be, and again, it can be devastating, there are still things that are excellent and pure and true and lovely and commendable and worthy of praise. Corrie ten Boom, in her book, wrote about when she and her sister were imprisoned in a Nazi concentration camp during World War II. One of the things that they had to go through, was a horrible infestation of fleas in their barracks. Imagine fleas so bad you didn't even want to go into to be able to sleep at night. And it was a terrible thing to go through until she noticed that the guards wouldn't come into their barracks. And she finally put it together that the guards wouldn't come in because of the fleas. They didn't want to get bitten. Well, that might be a minor blessing. You might say that the guards aren't coming in to harass and beat and give them trouble, but there was more than that, because she found the opportunity to have Bible studies and to have prayer and to have worship and to share the love of God with those women that were imprisoned with them in that barracks, in spite of the fleas, right? That's the way things are in life. Things may be extreme in your personal life right now, but no matter how extreme they might be, God has not abandoned you. God is still with you. You might be asking yourself, if anything good could ever come out of this? Well, the answer is that God still loves you. God has still abandoned you. And in everything, He is still with you. Nothing can separate you from His love in Christ Jesus. So let's pray. Father in heaven, so often in life, our sight is limited. It is self-centered and fixed only on situations and circumstances that we find ourselves in. Help us to look beyond these things. Life is so much different when we look at it through the blessings that you give us and the love that you surround us with, instead of the troubles that surround us. Be our comforter and guide. Help us to see that everything works to our good because of your love and because we are called according to your purpose. Help us to trust your promise that nothing can separate us from your love. Help us to focus on whatever is honorable and true, pure, lovely, excellent, commendable, and worthy of praise. Heal our hearts and our minds, our souls, our spirits, and our bodies. May we serve you in all things. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, Robbie, back to you. God bless everyone.
Precious Lord, take my hand and lead me on and help me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn through the storm, through the night. Lead me on, Lord, to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me home. When my way grows real, precious Lord, linger near. When my light is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call. Hold my hand, lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me home. Jesus, when the darkness appears and the night draws near, the day has passed, it's gone. At the river I stand, guide my feet, hold my hand, precious Lord, lead me, oh, lead me home. Come on, church. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, and let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. At the river I stand, guide my feet, Lord, and hold my hand. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stay, precious Lord, and lead me home.
The great old hymn, I thought it was appropriate for tonight as we celebrate the life and the times and the amazing Hammond organ stylings of the great Dr. Lonnie Smith. He's in the Hammond Hall of Fame. He's indeed a Hammond legend, a B3 master. Let's see, Buffalo Music Hall of Fame, NEA Jazz Masters Award, the highest honor that you can get in jazz. This past year, #1 Downbeat Critics Organist of the Year. and he had a #1 record earlier this year. And it's still hard to fathom. Now, I've got a lot of clips, a lot of video things that we had from back in June, when we did a birthday tribute to Dr. Lonnie. Dr. Lonnie was 79 years old. Dr. Lonnie was 79 years old July 3rd of this year. And so we did, back at that point in time, we did a big birthday tribute, and we had a lot of people kind of send in all kinds of cool videos and stuff like that. Now, Larry Visacki, he's playing the Hammond in Heaven with Guido, yes. Oh, good job, Eddie. By the way, thank you, Karen, for mentioning that. The young man you heard singing on that last Precious Lord clip is my dear brother in Christ and my friend and a member of our Trinity Lutheran praise team, Eddie Hedges, from Cincinnati, Ohio. But, of course, he lives in Los Angeles, California now. But great talent, great brother, great singer, great drummer, great producer, great writer. One of these nights we're going to have an Eddie Hedges night. And again, I'm the music director, the minister of music at Trinity Lutheran Church in Simi Valley, California. There's the website, trinitylutheranchurchsimi.com. And we have our church services at 9 a.m. every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. California time, but you can watch it on Facebook and YouTube, assuming Facebook is up and running. And I mentioned earlier I was on this Follow Your Dream podcast. You can go and check that out, I guess, wherever you hear your podcasts. Follow Your Dream podcast. Robert Miller, Follow Your Dream podcast. So that's enough housekeeping, I think, and announcements and stuff like that. Let's see what else we've got cooking here. Well, you know what? There may be some of you who don't know who Dr. Lonnie Smith was, and you don't know the name Dr. Lonnie Smith. I'm going to play a little video that was given to me. Thank you, Howard Goldstein Productions, who they're in the process of doing a documentary about Dr. Lonnie, and they allowed me to use this documentary footage. And so this is about a 3-minute clip, Dr. B3 documentary, and gives you a little bit of background about him.
Do you really mean that, or are you just playing that? I want to hear you, if it ain't nothing but this one note.
He took it to another level and played things that nobody else even thought of.
He can get sounds that you wouldn't think could come out of an organ.
Dr. Lonnie is the Coltrane of the B3.
There's no ego or contention in him until he sits down with the organ.
That is jazz musician Dr. Lonnie Smith sitting in with the Roots. Fantastic. Thank you.
But you guys had the best group in Harlem back during that time. I mean, the vibe, you could feel the vibes within the musicians, and therefore you could really connect.
He taught me about all the other stuff that they don't teach you in music school. You know, attitude and intent. And honesty. And how to get your soul out.
He's like a kid, you know, he's very in touch with his inner child.
Do you really mean that, or are you just playing that?
Somebody asked him, well, why do you call yourself Dr. Lonnie Smith? And he gave up on cancer. Because, you know, because I can.
I've seen so much. I've seen so much in my lifetime. You got to really mean it. If you don't mean it, it feels good. It feels good to me when I even say it, you know?
What a sage, what a mentor. And he just had that ability to connect with people on all levels and all planes. Gary Swan just texted in on my buddy Gary Swan, who's a Hammond organist brother. Doctor, don't forget, Lonnie was the only one to get a signature organ with his name on it. Pretty cool. Pretty darn cool. The only one. Wow. You know, one of the blessings that I had, of course, and that we had, and that you're going to have because you're going to get to experience it tonight. One of the blessings I had was to have Dr. Lonnie interview him back in June, right before we did that show with that birthday tribute to him. And I have some of these clips from some of these interviews, and I thought I would play some of those. And so here's the opening that we had. So he was under the weather a little bit, and you can hear it in his voice, but I think you'll enjoy this. Dr. Lonnie, talking to Dr. Lonnie Smith. We remember. Dr. Lonnie Smith is in the house. Welcome, Dr. Lonnie. How you feeling today, brother?
Terrible.
Terrible? What's wrong?
Fantastic.
I love it, man. And it's your fault, right?
That's right.
Hey, are you excited about this new album that you got coming out?
Oh, yeah. It's a little different.
It is different. You have a singer on there, Iggy Pop.
Right. You know what I liked about it is that it told the story. And I like that.
You know what? You are one of the deepest musicians I've ever met in my life, and that's because it's not that you have this great jazz sensibility and technique, but you go deep, deep, deep dive down into the heart of music. Tell me more about that.
You get the picture. People can see the picture. They can visualize what's going on. And you can't beat that because imagination is great.
You know what? It was such a blessing to put that show together. It was a true labor of love, and we had a chance to do that. I have some cool videos here too. I thought that I would show you, and I'm looking for this thing. Oh, here we go. No, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. Oh, darn it. Ha! Well, let's show something else here. Check this out. This is Dr. Lonnie along with Joey DeFrancesco and Paul Schaefer. This is a pretty cool thing if you haven't seen it.
Weird choice, right? I don't care. Tonight we got to do it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, we're going to do a number that I think could only be done on Canadian television because it is so hip. The producer of this show, Louise, came to me and said, I'd like you to do, what do you think about doing an organ summit with you and the three greatest organ players alive? And I said, holy cow, what an idea. And she made it happen. She knew who to call. She called the greatest organist, and it's a dying art, but we got him here tonight, and you're going to hear something that I don't think you'll ever hear again. Ladies and gentlemen, first, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce my friend, the last of the best and one of the greatest, funkiest, downest soul organ players on the planet, Dr. Lonnie Smith, ladies and gentlemen. Doctor, thank you for being here. Over here in Canada's own Doug Riley. We used to call him Dr. Music, so we've got three doctors. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest, Mr. Joey DeFrancesco. Joey, thank you for being here. I got an organ up here myself. This is a Hammond B3 organ, and we're going to do a little tribute, the four of us. This is by the late, great Jimmy Smith. It's called The Cat. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Here we go. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yeah. Go again, doctor, go again. Listen to that man blow. Dr. Lonnie Smith, ladies and gentlemen. Doug Riley, let's hear from you. Hit it, Doug. Oh. Let's take it home, everybody. Here we go. Oh, yeah? That's it. Oh, Dr. Lonnie Smith, let me hear you. Doug Riley, let me hear you. Joey DeFrancesco, everybody. My name is Paul Saber. Thank you. Canada, thank you for my induction into Canada's Walk of Fame. Oh!
I don't think you could hear me through all that, could you? All right. So we're having some technical difficulties, troubles out there. I've got to make a couple machinations. Let me know if you can hear me now out there in your Jam and Java land out there. Oh, boy. A nice... All right, let's get back on the track. Dr. Lonnie, this is a night about Dr. Lonnie, and we have, as a guest tonight, my dear friend and a friend to everybody who is Hammond. He is the senior product demonstrator. He is the artist liaison. He is the Papa Bear of Hammond, Oregon, and his name is Mr. Scott May. Now, let's see if I can bring him into the show without everything falling. There he is, Scott May. Hey, brother. Okay, now you seem to be muted. I don't hear you, brother. Let me see if I can fix that in here. Muted in sound levels. That's me. How about now? Nope. Oh, boy, we're having a heck of a time. Muted in sound levels. How do I get there? Okay. Publish. Oh, I see. I think there we go. I know. I went back to live mode. Now we got it. I'm sorry out there. Are you there, Scott?
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. How you doing, my
Fabulous.
friend?
I'm rocking and rolling. How about you?
I'm good, man. It's been a tough week for all of us, hasn't it?
Well, it has, and I said, in my tribute, in my eulogy that I printed up, I said I'm having a hard time, hard grieving because a soul like his cannot be extinguished, and so that means that as long as his music is here, he's here. As long as we keep him in our heart, he's here.
Amen.
And we were damn lucky to have him in our presence and be in his presence. He looked like a guru. He looked like a shaman, and he was both of those things to us. Maybe people might think that we're making too much of it, and that we're building up bigger than he was. We're not even scratching the surface to what he was to us. And as an inspiration, I mean, he's been sick for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 3 years ago when I was sick, I almost checked out. I went to a festival in Hope, Michigan, at Hope College, somewhere in Michigan, and it was Gerard Gibbs, the great Gerard Gibbs, Gerard Gibbs, Tony Monaco, and Doc. Well, Doc had played the night before I got there, and he wasn't able to make it, and he went off stage for a while. He came back on for a short time. Now, when I got there, he was very weak. They put the Leslies right up against the back bench, and he came out and he played, and boy, he was still great no matter what.
Wow.
Took a break to rest a second, came back on and played. I spent the night with him in his room to help him out. He was in bad shape. He was very, very ill, very weak. He was very ill. But he went on and he played more shows. The last time I saw him was here in Chicago. He played a show at Orchestra Hall, which is a fitting valedictory for Dr. Lonnie to be in Orchestra Hall. And the moment of that night was there was a fellow sitting in front of me who had never seen Doc live. He was very eager to see him, total jazz fan. Doc played his set. The guy turned around and he was absolutely in tears. I'm not kidding. And he says he had never heard anything as beautiful, and it was, he wasn't his usual self. But boy, he still played great and sounded great. So, an inspiration to us all. We loved him and still do.
No question about that, my friend. And, of course, let me get you back in there. It's just been tough. By the way, and lest I forget, there's been one angel through this last few years.
Oh yeah.
And I would be absolutely remiss if I did not acknowledge her. and her name is Holly Case, and she was his manager for, I think, 27 years or something like that. Is that right?
Long time.
So Holly Case, thank you from everybody who has enjoyed Dr. Lonnie's music, everybody who has enjoyed Dr. Lonnie's heart. Thank you for being that angel for him.
Yeah, she was, boy, she really loved him, and she really took care of him, and yeah, boy, you know. So, but what are you going to do? The man was very, very, very sick,
Yes.
and apparently, what Holly said is at the end she was playing his favorite music,
Mm-hmm.
and she was talking to him, and then she played Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah.
Yeah.
And at the end of that, then he flew away. And what a magnificent way to check out. Class till the very last second. God bless him.
Amen. No question. I was trying to, I'm doing a little bit of magical button pushing back here in the background and trying to tweak a couple things that need to be tweaked, unfortunately, due to some technical issues. But I talked earlier about the Paul Schaefer clip, and I think I've got that. Let me see if I can make that work for everybody. If I hit this button right here, and then I go there.
Hi, well, it's Paul Schaefer, and it is my great pleasure to appear here on the Robbie Robinson Show, and to be part of Robbie's tribute to the great Dr. Lonnie Smith, who, when it comes to musicians, I don't care what instrument, this guy is one of the all-time greats. But first I got to talk about his inner self. He's one of the kindest people I've ever met in my life. And I think back to the first time I met him. It was at a nightclub, and I think it was the Village Vanguard. And I think he was playing, co-headlining with Lou Donaldson, the two of them playing together. And I approached him on the bandstand and walked up there in between sets. Excuse me, doctor. He turned around and said, "You owe me money." I've never met him, of course. I had never met him. Nonetheless, by the end of the meeting, he was seated at the B3 giving me a lesson on the bass pedals. That's the kind of open heart he had, and although he came on strong at the beginning, he became at that moment a lifelong friend, a man who calls me occasionally from Fort Lauderdale just to check in, and when I receive a call like that, I say, how did I get so blessed? How am I so lucky to count Dr. Lonnie Smith as one of my friends? I don't know. It speaks to his open heart, though. And I received, I'm from Canada originally. I received an honor up there, and there was a television show in connection with it, and they said, put together a B3 summit, and with the three greatest guys on the instrument, and Dr. Lonnie Smith came up and did that for me. I know it, and played with Joey DeFrancesca and the late Doug Riley, the Canadian master. Boy, what a day that was. Thanks to the good doctor. So Dr. Lonnie Smith, you deserve all the tributes that you can get. You deserve every single one of them. You are one of the last of the great breed of soulful gospel jazz organists. There's only a few of you guys. You're all masters, and Dr. Lonnie Smith, you are the best of them all. All my love. Paul Schaefer out.
Cool stuff. Cool stuff. So Paul, and can you hear me okay out there, by the way? Come on, Robbie. I got to get this act together here. Publish. There we go. Now we can go. Can you hear me out there, Scott?
Yes.
All right. So it was interesting that he used that phrase, you owe me money. We've all heard that how many times?
Huh. Or when you see, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I know. He had some great sayings, didn't he?
And he was, even in the past, he called me on my birthday in August. How you doing, Doc? Fantastic.
That's it.
You know, and I'm like, and I know better. You ain't doing so fantastic. But that's the way he felt. And that's what you get. I mean, like I say, I use the term guru and shaman because everybody everybody talks about his playing, but everybody also talks about his heart.
Yeah, his
and
humanity,
his,
huh?
and his humanity and his ability to just make you a better person, make you a better musician. Um, he just hanging with him was a practical education. Um, and being with the guys in his band, John Kreisberg and Jonathan Blake, just incredible musicians, incredibly deep, and to watch them and know, you see organ trios and the guitarists are all great jazz guitarists, and but when you see Jonathan Kreisberg with Doc in that band, Jonathan goes places that you'd never hear a regular guitarist in an organ trio go.
Sure.
Jonathan, and I said it in my eulogy. I says, sometimes you're hearing gospel, sometimes you're hearing jazz, sometimes you're hearing progressive rock. In later years, when he had all his other instruments, you might hear percussion or avant-garde classical music sometime in the same song. You know, um,
Well, you talk about he was a jazz organist, but he was so much more than that. Even on a musical stylistic place, beyond the
oh yeah,
humanity and the heart that came across in his playing. I love that opening line that he said in the beginning of one of those documentaries. Did you mean that? And that's so profound.
well yeah, he he's what's really weird is I've been very privileged to be in touch with people in music who have been considered gurus.
Mm-hmm.
And Doc is, of course, the greatest, but also a fellow by the name of Colonel Bruce Hampton.
Mm.
And he's not as well known as Doc, but Colonel Bruce Hampton was the paterfamilias of the jam band circuit, the Allman Brothers, the Grateful Dead, Widespread
Wow.
Panic, all those guys down south. And Colonel Bruce, everybody looked to Colonel Bruce because he was an inspiring figure, much like Doc. A couple of years ago, they were on a jazz cruise together, and Bruce had never met Doc. And I says, well, make sure that you get together with Doc.
Oh yeah.
And because you two guys together, there's going to be something glowing that's going to happen. There's going to be an aurora borealis in the Caribbean when you two guys get together. But Bruce used to say the same thing. Music. There's no good music and there's no bad music.
That's right.
There's no guy with great chops or guy with bad chops. It's the intent and how much soul you put into it and how much you love it. And if you intend to play those notes, doesn't matter if your technique is crap or if it's good or if it's masterful or if your harmonic structure is, something to make Walter Piston blush, or if it's
well said.
or if it's something to sound like chopsticks. If you intend to play that, it's good music. And boy, Doc was 100% right. Bruce was 100% right. And anybody out there who I disavow when you see great musicians and go, oh, I'm never going to play again. I'm going to cut off my hands. I'm going to never play. I'm going to sell my organ or my guitar or my bass, my drums. Well, you know what? No. when you see the greatness, it makes you want to pick up your axe, sit down at a B3, sit down at a piano, pick up your horn, pick up your drumsticks, pick up your guitar, and play.
Well
And that's what
said.
Doc did for us. That was Dr. Lonnie right there.
Oh, I love that, brother. I love it. You know what? Here, you want to know what Dr. Lonnie said about Scott May? Oh, you know what? This thing keeps going unmuted here. Let me go over here a second. Let me get back to you. I don't know what when I have to publish this. Talk to me, brother. Are you there?
Doc said something about, well.
You want to know what he had to say about Scott May? Here you go.
Okay, let's see it. Let's hear it.
Here it goes like this. Sure it does. Oh,
it's great so far.
Yeah, great. What do you got to say about Scott May? Give me some dirt on Scott May.
Scott May, believe it or not, he's a good guy and he can play.
He's a what?
He's a good guy and he can play.
Yeah, he can play. He's got some heart and soul, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
All kinds of trouble here tonight.
I asked him if I could take some lessons from him.
What did he say?
He said, "You don't need them."
Oh, I love it.
He says, "You don't need any lessons." He says, "You know what you need to know to play." He goes, "Because you're not going to lie. You're going to play with your heart." He goes, "That's all." He goes, "I can't teach you any more than that."
I love it. That's
And I'm saying, really? Yeah, but he says, but that's what his thing was. He either put heart and soul into it, and you play, and you intend to play it, and or if you're phoning it in, who cares?
Amen.
And that's what we all take from Doc.
Well, he got started back in the day with a young guitar player who didn't phone it in either, and that was George Benson.
Oh!
And I was blessed to sit down with George Benson. This was right around when we did that birthday tribute to him back in June, the end of June, beginning of July. And I thought I would play some of that interview stuff with George Benson that he talks about Dr. Lonnie.
Excellent.
Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so honored on this show tonight to have an absolute musical legend, a man who crosses all stylistic boundaries, a true genius, a true icon in the music business. Please welcome Mr. George Benson. Welcome, George.
How you doing there, Robbie?
I'm doing good, my brother. But today we're going to talk about Dr. Lonnie Smith. And you go back with Dr. Lonnie a long time, don't you, brother? Can you tell us about getting started with Dr. Lonnie?
Well, the man you know is Dr. Lonnie today, and that's appropriate. I met him way back at a club in Buffalo, New York. Mm-hmm. It was the hottest R&B house in the country. I mean, in Buffalo, New York, I should say, in that part of the country. He came up and sat in with Jack McDuff, and the changeover between him and Jack McDuff, because he was playing organ, Jack was.
Right.
And Lonnie came up on stage, and it was seamless. He took over the bass line with his left hand, and he bumped Jack off, with the booty, whipped him off of the bandstand, and he started in playing, and everything went to another place.
Wow.
It got happier. I said, wow, Jack is kicking tonight. And then I looked back and I saw this young fellow, Lonnie Smith, playing the organ. I said, wow, I got to get this fellow's name. Because we were close in age, we were what you might call the new lions of that time. I knew that one day I would start my own band. I said, man, it'd be great if I could run into somebody like this young fellow.
Wow.
So I took his number and kept it with me for quite a while. And then one day I called him and I put a trailer behind my car and drove up to Buffalo, New York, which was about 450 miles from New York, I guess. I can't remember now.
It's up there, yeah.
And we put his organ in the back of my car in a trailer, and we drove to my hometown, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we rehearsed.
Then how long after that did it lead to that album, It's Uptown?
So on the last night we were there, we were at the Palm Cafe down the street from the Apollo Theater in New York on 125th Street. That meant that James Brown would come down almost every night to sit in with us.
Wow.
Lonnie was that hot. He could play that R&B stuff. He was the winner. He kicked every night. But anyway, on the last night, Sunday night, John Hammond walked in the door with his beautiful wife. It was very, very exciting because he fell in love with Lonnie Smith instantly, and he knew he didn't have an ordinary band. Ronnie Cuber was an exceptional saxophone player.
Oh, man.
And he was playing an exceptional instrument, the baritone. So.
Stuff.
Wow. I pulled out the other day. I pulled out Dr. Lonnie. Well, it was, at that time it was Lonnie Smith's "Finger Licking Good," his first solo album on Columbia. Man, that record is so good. If it was released today, I think the kids would go crazy because it's just so funky. And he does so many things on that record that nobody else was doing at that time. And I know I'll probably get poison pen for this. Jimmy Smith wasn't doing stuff like this.
Right.
Brother Jack wasn't. McGriff wasn't. Berner wasn't. None of those guys were doing some of this stuff that Doc did, and it's just an amazing record. This is the first record that he did back in 66, 67, way back when.
Of course, he was pretty young when they had a big jazz record, like $1 million seller or something like that, Alligator Boogaloo with Lou Donaldson.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Doc had a, he gave up music for a while.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he told me the story once, and the way Doc used to tell a story, but he regressed. He got out of music for a while.
Wow.
And till he wanted to come back in the right kind of way, and I think but then he came back and he did exactly what he wanted to do. I mean, he had the records where he did a whole record of Beck, the rock guy Beck. Now,
right.
Who does that?
I know how cool. We've got some. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. And he didn't. The sounds terrible to say, but he didn't care about fashion. He didn't care about trend. He didn't care about anything. He made the music in his heart and music in his soul. And, at the end, before he got really sick, when he used to have all the synthesizers piled up and the little electric percussion to the side. And sometimes, like I said, it would sound like avant-garde classical music. Well, when you go into a jazz club or a jazz concert and hear stuff like that, you don't. You don't. And it's all improvised. It all was a la minute. It was all, and you just sit there and go, what in the HE double hockey sticks am I listening to? See the way I cleaned it up?
Good job, kid. I have some pictures here. I thought I would, let's see if I, well, by the way, this is one of the blessings that I have, of course, when I go on the road is getting a chance to hang out. And whenever we would get down to the Fort Lauderdale area, I would get together with Doc. And there I am just trying to soak in some wisdom from the great sage, from this great master, from this great guy who he would just he knew how to pass it forward and how to just share his wisdom and his perspectives on music and life and to anybody. And I just soaked it in as much as I possibly could.
Oh, he didn't care. You look at it. He's talking to Paul Schaefer. He talks to everybody. I mean, I was with him in the car once when Stevie Wonder called him.
Is that
You know,
right?
I
Wow.
go, and Stevie Wonder's calling him, and he's in the car with me. What? You know, I've seen him. I've seen him at the NAMM shows with youngsters.
Yes, yes,
You
yes.
know, especially our friend Adam,
Hmm.
um, out of Milwaukee, who's got a great career in the blues right now. And I mean, we put him on the bench, and Doc took time to give this young fellow some guidance. And I pull him off the bench and says, "Do you realize how lucky you are?" Adam Pryor.
Yes.
I says, "Do you realize what you got at 13 or 14, however old he was at the time?"
Amazing.
And, but that was Doc. That was Doc.
Here's another one. He came out to. He
Ah,
loved seeing the Frankie Valli show, and he and Frankie Valli really got along well too, which was pretty kind of cool. Here, check this out. This is,
oh, yeah.
and he and Frankie, they had some deep conversations because they're both very, very deep musicians.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, I love that picture of him. I mean, this guy, he could have been a star actor. He had such charisma, though, too, from his persona. But we have a message from our Hammond brother, Gary Swan. You may have heard of Gary Swan.
Swanee! We love you, Swanee!
And he says, please ask Scott about the creation of the SK2 Lonnie model, and is it still available?
Well, that was something of Greg Granowski, our late brother Greg Granowski's doing.
Oh,
And what it was going to be an SK2 with all the programs and such programmed by Dr. Lonnie. And it just never happened that way. And some of it was the fact that Doc was a little too humble. You know, he was like, no, who cares? You know, it's not. You know, he thought it was a little bit too commercial, and he so we never did it. There was one built that we had some programming in it. And by the way, that programming went out into the XK1C, and it went into the SKX, and it is if you get the new SK Pro and you go to number one, the number one program,
patch, yeah,
organ number one patch, that patch it says Vintage B3 DLS, and that's Dr. Lonnie Smith. I sat for an entire day with Doc in a hotel room in Milwaukee, and we did the drawbars, we did the percussion, we did the vibrato chorus, we did everything, and Leslie to his specifications. So the new and it's there in the XK5, the SKX, the XK1C, and now the SK Pro. So if you got an SK Pro, you go to that first organ patch. That's it says DLS. That stands for Dr. Lonnie Smith.
Super cool. And if any of you are Hammond organ players or want to play the Hammond organ, I could not endorse a better instrument than going to get the Hammond SK Pro, because it is one bad motor scooter.
Well, yeah, and if you go to Hammond, not to make this a commercial, but if you go to hammondorganco.com, there's some great videos with our friend Robbie here playing and just tearing it up, along with Reverend Jimmy Smith and Stephen Eckler and Tommy Learshin playing the piano on it, and
Brian
Jimmy
Charette is
Alfredson.
on some, right?
Charette, yeah, Charette's there too.
And by the way, let's move over to Jim Alfredson, one of the Ham Fam brothers, and one of the main, the primary. What's the word I'm looking for? It keeps escaping me tonight. Demonstrator. Check this out.
Artist, we like to say.
Artist, yes. Here it goes.
Greetings from the beautiful woods of Western North Carolina. My name is Jim Alfredson. I'm here teaching at the Brevard Music Institute for their jazz camp. And I would not be able to do this without the inspiration of Dr. Lonnie Smith. In fact, I kind of based my whole career on his music, and I'll tell you why. Because he was kind enough, after one of his concerts in Ann Arbor at the Bird of Paradise years and years and years ago, when I was just starting to play this music, he was kind enough to stay after the gig and show me the ropes on the lower manual and the bass pedals of the organ and answer my questions. And that's something that I absolutely cherish to this day. Without that, I don't think I could be doing what I'm doing. I'm going to be frank about it. Dr. Lonnie, I love you. You've been one of the biggest inspirations in my life. Your music, your personality, your entire approach to life has inspired me. And it's inspired my music and the way that I approach leading a band, playing the organ, and living as a person. I hope you know how much you mean to all of us, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful birthday, and just know that you're loved and appreciated, and we miss you, and I can't wait to see you, hopefully, out on the road again. Thank you, and happy birthday.
Hi, Doc. This is Brian Charette. Thanks so much for your incredible music. I first heard you when I played with Lou Donaldson when I was a kid. I was very young. I think I was 16 or 17. He would come play at a place in Hartford called the Blue Star. And I, of course, heard your recordings with him. Instant fan for life. So amazing to get to know you over the past 10 years. And I love you. I think you're great. Mwah.
So there's a couple Hammond artists, huh?
Yeah, I see Charette there. It made me think of, this is a number of years back at a NAMM show, and we were at the hotel, and we had a breakfast, and at the breakfast was me, Doc, Charette, and Peter Keys, who was the keyboard player of Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Right.
Now, where in do you get? I mean, and it was just like, it was a great conversation of four Hammond guys sitting around. I mean, I'm a goofy ass rock player. I mean, that's what I do. Charette is this genius at what he does. If you ever seen Lynyrd Skynyrd live, it took a real big man to step into the shoes of Skinner's previous piano player who tragically passed away. But Peter did it, and Peter filled that thing. But look at the four separate things, and boy, we sat there with Doc, and Doc was the he was a catalyst, and we just had a great, and we ate, Doc and I we were called the Oatmeal Brothers because we ate oatmeal. Doc had oatmeal every day, eggs for lunch, salmon for dinner.
Oatmeal. Hey, that reminds me. Let's ask Doc about his oatmeal eating here. Check this out. This is fun. Hey, what's your favorite breakfast?
Oatmeal.
How come you eat oatmeal every day? Tell me what the story behind that is.
Oatmeal have all the ingredients that I need in the morning.
Oh.
Because I put everything in it. I put nuts in it. I put bananas in it. I put strawberry, raspberry.
Yeah, baby.
I put cinnamon, coconut, vanilla, lemon.
Wow.
Everything.
Man, now you're making me hungry. I'm going to have some oatmeal.
Good, man.
Is that your secret to playing the organ as great as you do?
I don't know if that's it, but that makes me feel good.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot of healthy stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you have oatmeal this morning?
Oh, every morning.
Every morning, no question about it. How was that for a segue?
I never ate hot cereal as a kid, and again, we were out and we went to breakfast, and I had a plate of bacon and eggs and sausage and all this. He had a bowl of oatmeal, and he looked at me and he says, "You gonna eat all that?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Why?" He goes, "This is what you need." I sent it all back. I had him bring me a bowl of oatmeal, and I put it over, because Doc used to have this bag of stuff that he'd have all the fixins. He'd pull it out of his bag. He had a bag that was, and I says, "Okay, fix me a bowl the way you like it." And and I put all the eggs and bacon and everything, and I ate the bowl of oatmeal. And if I'm going to tell you, I just ate it. It was fantastic. And I went the entire day at the show, and I had a little more spring in my step. My mind worked better, and he was right.
Well,
oatmeal
you did something that was super special, my friend.
You
reached out and to the Ultimate Oatmeal Company, and that would of course be Quaker Oats, and you facilitated this. I'm going to read this. Dear Dr. Lonnie Smith, June 25th, 2021, from Quaker Oats. A friend of yours reached out, that would be Scott May. A friend of yours reached out to us recently to let us know about your love of oatmeal. That was music to our ears. As an accomplished musician, you know how great it is to hear from and connect with real fans. We are so pleased you like oatmeal as much as we do. As a token of our appreciation and a small birthday gift, we have enclosed a package of Quaker Oats for you to enjoy. We appreciate your continued support of Quaker Oats and wish you a very happy birthday. Sincerely, the Quaker Oats team. That is super, super cool.
Yeah, that came right from the executive office of Quaker Oats. I got through to them, and they had not heard of Dr. Lonnie Smith. But they went on YouTube and they went out and they looked it up, and they probably asked some jazz savvy people in their office. And when I heard back from them, they said, "Oh my goodness, we had no idea that this guy was who he is." But so that's the oatmeal story. We've got a million of them. We've got a million stories about Doc.
Well, not only did Doc endorse Hammond organ, he endorsed Quaker oatmeal. I love it.
Well, it got to the point where he stopped coming to the NAMM shows because he couldn't walk 2 feet without people stopping him. I mean, he was a superstar.
No question.
And it's and now with this new album with Iggy Pop on it.
I know, that's so what. Well, you know what? Who else? The producer of that record, Don Was, who is a legendary producer, he sent in this nice note. Check this out. How do you like working with Don Was as a producer?
Great.
Hold on, that's Dr. Lonnie talking about Don Was. So let's see what Dr. Lonnie has to say about Don Was.
Hey, Doc, it's your old pal, your record producer and your label president, Don Was, wishing you a very happy birthday, man. I'm really grateful to Robbie and to Jammin' Java for putting this birthday salute together and giving us all an opportunity to tell you how much we love you and how profoundly we respect you as a human being and as a musician. You're an innovative and deep genius, man. There's nobody who approaches the instrument the way you do, the way you paint moving pictures with the drawbars, the way you carve such a deep groove, the way you voice your chord clusters so brilliantly, the way you build a solo till explosions are going off, and the generous way you accompany and build other musicians' solos. And while all that's going on, you're simultaneously one of the best bass players on earth using just your feet and a little bit of your left hand. You're also one of the funniest people I know, and beneath all the bluster, you're one of the sweetest and kindest and gentlest people I know. But don't worry, we'll keep that our secret. It's a joy to be your friend, and making records with you over the last decade has been one of the great honors of my life. I'm really proud of the albums you've made for Blue Note, and on behalf of all of us at the label, we're wishing you many happy returns of this birthday and looking forward to many, many more records to come. Take care, man. We're thinking of you today, and we'll see you soon. Lots of love.
How do you like working with Don Was as a producer?
Great.
Now, the name of the album is called Breathe.
Yeah.
And he's very diverse, too. He has produced not just jazz, but the Rolling Stones.
He's been there, exactly.
You know what Duke Ellington says about music? He says there's two kinds of music. There's good music, and then there's the other kind. And that's how you look at it, I think.
That's for sure. Boy, you are terrible.
I'm just trying to keep up with you, brother, and that's impossible. You've been with
Yeah,
Blue
but
Note
it's
for a
right.
long time. You've done albums for Blue Note for years.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
What does Blue Note mean to jazz, and what does Blue Note mean to Hammond organ?
Blue Note to Jazz is the label.
Yes.
It's the king of all labels from the past up until now.
Yes.
You can't beat it.
You're on it. That's being on the best team in baseball.
Oh, yeah. It is. It is.
So that new album that he came out with earlier this year that went to #1 too, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, the album is just spectacular.
Absolutely.
All three of the modern day Blue Note things that are produced by Don Was, which is the basic group of Jonathan Kreisberg, either Jameyer or Jonathan Blake, and Jonathan Blake on drums. One of the most amazing drummers I've ever seen. And he plays, all his cymbals are flat. They're flat in front of him.
Really?
It's like,
I get what you. Yeah,
and Jonathan's a big boy. I mean, I'm a big boy. Jonathan's a big boy. And I said, sometimes you see him and he gets that right hand on that cymbal like that. And his left hand's over here. He's building a ship in a bottle, cooking up some eggs, painting a picture, doing some minor surgery, and this all the time. This right hand's and it's never repeating anything. It's just moving into the independence of both hands and both feet, and how he would compliment Doc and John Kreisberg. It was just amazing. I think the best thing I can say about Dr. Lonnie Smith is that when you got done with a show of his, at least the guys in Chicago, Justin Dillard and Tommy Learshin and a bunch of the other guys, Harry Zerbs and all the other guys who were in Chicago, after the show, before Doc came out and we talked to him, we all got in the back of the room and we just looked at each other with this blank stare like, what do you say? You can applaud. That ain't enough. You can go, yoo-hoo. That ain't enough. We just didn't. It was like seeing something, like if a flying saucer landed and a guy came out in perfect English, gave you the answers to the mystery of life, got back in the flying saucer and flew away. What would you say to that? You just kind of stand there and go, okay. That was something that I have no words to describe. And you're a better person for it, but that was how it was. I mean, and we have to tell the people who are watching this, we're not even scratching the surface.
Amen. Well, you know what? Let's do this. We've talked about it, and you know what? To talk about it, there's no way that we can actually verbally describe one of his shows or one of his concerts, but I do have a video here of him playing with Lou Donaldson. If I can find it again here, I'm having a heck of a time finding all these things. Here we go. The Alligator Boogaloo with Lou Donaldson. And this is a song that was a million-selling jazz album. That doesn't happen very often anyhow, but check this out. Alligator Boogaloo, Dr. Lonnie Smith with Lou Donaldson.
We call it the Alligator Boogaloo.
How is
Wow.
that? That's
What do you
building a
say?
solo, huh?
And really, when you get down to it, I mean, there's a practical music lesson there. A couple of times, yeah, he did some fast runs, but most of it, if you were to quantize that solo or quantify that solo and say how much silence was there and how much actual music was there, I bet you would be pretty much, well, except at the end where that one note was held, but it was the phrasing and the economy, and not anything was out of place. Every note he played was right and perfect, and maybe he could have played 10 times as many notes, but it wouldn't have been as cool, and it wouldn't have been as funky. You know,
Well,
that kind of
as
stuff.
Dr. Lonnie would say, did you mean that? And he meant
Did you
that.
mean that? Right. You know, and that's and how liberating is that for a musician?
I know, absolutely.
I mean,
man.
you know, you go. It was the great Leslie West, and I'm not to kick a guy or two guys who are down, a guy who's down, but I think it was Leslie West who says one time, he goes, "I wouldn't give you 10 Eddie Van Halens for one BB King."
Powerful.
And he wasn't insulting anybody,
Right.
but BB King could just go boop, and you got it, you know. And Doc goes boop 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 boop.
Ha, so cool. You know, when we did that tribute thing back in June, or right before his birthday, we did it at the end of June. I think it was the Monday before July 3rd, which was his birthday.
Yes.
And by the way, did I say anything about Holly Case?
Yes, you did.
Of course I did, but I can't say too much about Holly Case. This young lady, 27 years his manager, but she was there for him especially through the end here. And I would, you know, and he literally called her his angel, no question about it. And I told that to her, and she says, well, I know I annoy him all the time. I said, you're just an annoying angel. And so she took that moniker, the annoying angel. But she was a saint to him. And so thank you, Holly, from all of us for everything that you did. We are so thankful for that. And I hope and pray that she's watching tonight. I talked to her earlier yesterday, I think it was, and she said she was going to watch. So, but the accolades came in from all over the place. Here's one that comes from outside of the music scene, more from the acting scene. Actor Paul Giamatti.
Happy birthday, Dr. Lonnie Smith. I won't sing. I won't do that. That wouldn't be good. But I'm going to wish you a happy birthday and say I love you, I miss you, I'm sorry I haven't gotten down there to see you. I think about you all the time. Thank you for being my friend. And it is my privilege to be your friend. I hope to see you soon. Happy birthday. I love you, man.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Dr. Lonnie Smith. This is Bill Champlin. I'm a Hammond player. I've been playing Hammond for years and years and years, as well as guitar and singing and songwriting and da-da-da-da-da, on and on and on. But I got to tell you, the first time I heard a Hammond organ on the radio, I went crazy. I had to have one. Started pulling weeds or doing anything I could to get the money to put together a down payment to go get a B3 and a 122. When you talk about Hammond organ, you're talking about Jimmy Smith, Jack McDuff, Shirley Scott, and the guy that really kind of made it great for everybody was Dr. Lonnie Smith. I had a chance to meet him. He was playing, just playing by himself at the NAMM show at the Hammond booth. And Scott May had me over there. And he says, hey, you want to meet him? I said, not if you're going to make him stop. Because you don't, you know, once that guy starts playing, you don't want to start talking. You just want to keep listening. Anyway, once again, this guy's at the top of the heap on Hammond organ ever. Love you guys. See you soon. Be good.
Tell me about Lonnie. When you think of Lonnie Smith, beyond those initial impressions, how would you describe Lonnie Smith to somebody who didn't know him?
Well, he knew a lot of R&B tunes, and he could play any of that funky stuff. Like I said, James Brown tried to get us to open for his show. He tried to hire me and my band to open for his show. I said, no, you know, we're jazz musicians, you know. When the truth was, the only jazz tunes Lonnie knew were my originals. and one slow song, Moonlight in Vermont.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That was it. But he played the crap out of them, though.
Oh, man.
He played them very well, and his rhythm was impeccable. Nobody had rhythm like Lonnie Smith. And the man, Dr. Lonnie Smith today, and I don't want to use that name now because he loves, when he switched to Dr. Lonnie Smith, his whole life leveled out beautifully.
Oh, yeah. Well, he is a doctor, even though he's not officially a doctor, but he's a doctor in the hearts and minds of all of his fans and friends.
That's true.
And he is a doctor. I mean, this guy's so deep musically, as you are, of course. Both you guys, who could have thought, you two young guys getting together way back in the day like that, then decades later, you're both jazz master by the National Endowment of the Arts. You've got Grammys coming out your ears, and you both have had a lifelong career in the music business and created just a monster career for both of you. Who could have envisioned that?
Mr. Jimmy Boyd, the guy who became our manager, he kept encouraging us. And he told me that Lonnie Smith was going to become very big in the music world. I didn't think Lonnie would gain a lot of mileage in it, although I already knew he was a great musician in the sense that he had all the elements. He had the two most important elements in music to me.
Ooh, what's that?
He sounded good and he felt good when he played. He had a great sound on the organ, and all his music felt good, made you want to dance or do whatever. But when he touched the organ, something wonderful happened. So he had those elements. But remember, we were both untried, and so nobody knew where we were going to end up. We were just trying to find out where we belonged in this world, you know.
Well, I think you found out, brother. Well, listen, my brother, it is absolutely an honor to get to talk to you, an absolute honor to have you on this show that pay tribute to Dr. Lonnie. And me being a Hammond organ guy, he is on the Mount Rushmore of Hammond organ, and for the Hammond Organ Company, he is our papa, our spiritual leader, the Grand Poobah. We just love him, and he is a special guy to all of us.
Well, I can tell you, man, I feel the same way you do about Lonnie. What he took on and what he became from where he came from. Remember, he came from the streets of Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
We have remained the best of friends through all of that craziness because New York was pretty crazy, I can tell you that.
Wow.
But Lonnie Smith was like one of the best friends I've ever had in life. But in the music business, he was irreplaceable. And today we still remain the best of friends. And you know, I love that fellow, man. So let's all give him what he deserves, you know, give him his kudos.
Amen, 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 my brother. Well, thank you so much. This has really been special. God's big blessings to you, my friend, and I just hope and pray that you just keep on keeping on what you're doing because God put you on this planet to make joy through your amazing music, and you're doing a great job with it.
Thank you. Love you, Lonnie.
What a great story. And from there, then, you hooked up with George Benson somewhere along the way, right?
George Benson. I don't know George. George Benson. George Benson.
Yeah, he's a guitar player. You may remember him.
Oh, yeah, young kid.
Yeah.
I remember, young boy. I heard him with Jack McDuff.
Brother Jack McDuff, uh-huh.
And I heard him. I said, my brothers and I were listening. The little fella can play.
And he was, what, 16 or something, probably?
Oh, he was young. He said he could play. I'm standing out there, and the people say, Brother Jack, let him play. They talking about me.
Uh-huh.
Let him play. So he called me up, and I played.
Wow.
And that was it. Once I played, I was in the bathroom, and George was in there. And he said, hey, man, you wanted my number. I gave him my number, and that was it.
Wow. And then you guys started the band. And
just to show you how it happened. I met another fella by the name of Jimmy Boyd.
Okay.
Jimmy Boyd handled all the jazz groups up in New York.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to know who George was going to get as a group, you know.
Uh-huh.
And so he says, I know just the cat.
Uh-huh.
And he mentioned my name. He said, that's who I've been looking for.
Fantastic.
So we hooked up, and He came and got me. He said, give them a 2-week notice, man. I'll be up there to get you.
Uh-huh.
I'll be in Buffalo, he said. I'll be up there your last night. And he came up, picked me up, and that was it. We took off, and then he said, man, if we leave now, we can catch Grant Green.
Right.
I said, oh, yeah? You want to catch Grant? I said, yeah, sure. So we took off for New York.
Ah.
When we got there, closing time. So George and I got up and played one. And Grant wouldn't let me get down.
Oh, really? Cool.
Him and Larry Young and Candy Finch.
Uh-huh.
He says, don't go nowhere. You stay right there.
Wow.
So I went on and played. And Grant every day asked me to play with him.
Wow.
Yeah. Manager say, leave him alone. George and him. And you and Larry.
Right.
George and Lonnie. That was it. So we were together.
George and Lonnie, that's an amazing pair. Did you know that he could sing like that back in those days?
Yeah, we used to sing all the time on the road, riding up and down the road.
Yeah.
Him and I would sing all the time.
Whatever happened to that guy? Did he do anything in the music business later then?
What was that?
George Benson, yeah. Did he ever make any more records?
He might have made a couple.
Yeah. Hey, tell me about George. When you first heard George play, what do you think?
When I heard him play, I thought that was it. And I knew who the bad cats were.
I bet you did.
The 3 bad young kids, Wilbur Longmire,
Okay.
and the other one was Pat Martino.
Oh, yeah. Did you ever play with Wes?
I never.
There was a magic. There was a chemistry with you and George Benson that was just amazing. It was like you guys had the same brain or something.
Yeah, we had so much fun. We laughed and joked and sang up and down the road.
He told me about going up to Buffalo and getting that organ of yours, and then you guys drove to New York.
Yeah, sure did. That was something, too.
I'll bet it was, man. I'll bet it was.
Yeah. That was beautiful, man.
I would have liked to have been in the back seat of that car listening to you two cats talking. I can only imagine.
Oh, we used to enjoy riding together. Yeah, we used to laugh and joke all the time. Stop and shoot guns and stuff.
What do you mean guns? Do you stop and shoot guns? What do you mean?
Yeah, rifles and things.
You're kidding. Wow. I never would have pictured that one. Yeah. How's that?
You know, a lot of people may not know, but Doc was a tremendous singer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. A lot of people don't know that.
He was a great singer. I mean, he probably could have done a George Benson and been a popular singer. You know,
Sure.
I mean, he was. You know,
well, if you remember, when we did the Greg Gronowski memorials with all those Hammond artists. He's one of the cool things was he sang "Oh Happy Day."
Oh yeah, right. Yep. Well, that was, boy, that was Doc when Doc played the gospel. Forget about it. That was you know, the Greg thing with Reverend Jimmy Smith,
right,
and Anthony Williams, and the fellow. Oh boy, my brain is sullied right now. Oh,
I don't remember who it was either, but I have that clip. Can you set that clip up for us?
Talking to me?
Yes.
Oh no, I don't have that clip.
No, I have it.
Oh, but okay. Oh, talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, Greg Gronowski was the director of sales and marketing for Hammond Organ. He was my friend all throughout high school. He saved Hammond Organ. You know, you're playing an XK5 today. Well, he was behind that. If you have a Leslie Studio 12, he championed that, the SK1, all these great things. And unfortunately, he was sick man too. And one day he had a stroke, gone. So we did a tribute, to him. We had 5 Hammond organs across the front of the stage. And I told Reverend Jimmy Smith, I asked him, I says, look, everybody got 7 minutes on that show because we had 22 artists that came to Chicago on their own dime from every walk of music. But I said at the end, I says, Reverend Jimmy, I says, take us to church and give us what in the gospel church they call a homegoing. And because Greg never wanted a funeral service, he says get together and play music, and so we did. And I asked Reverend Jimmy to take us home, and so it was Reverend Jimmy and Anthony Williams, Dr. Lonnie, Stephen Eckler was in there, and boy, I'm so focused on this I can't think of the fellow's name out of Baltimore. Who he was the fellow who played the organ when President Obama sang "Oh Happy Day."
Wow!
At that one service, and he was on. Oh come on, I can't think of his name. Well, play the clip.
Here it is.
And then I'll
talk about hit it and get it. Dr. Lonnie came out to St. Charles, Illinois on his own dime to join the Hammond family of players in tribute to Greg Gronowski, spotlight on Dr. Lonnie at the Arcada Theater. Get it.
Hello.
Is this the famous Dr. Lonnie Smith?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, brother. How's it going?
Fantastic.
Always fantastic with you, man.
Yes, that's right.
Do you ever have a bad day?
That I know of now.
You know, God has blessed you with that gift of music and that gift with just a positive attitude, brother.
Yes, he did. Oh, whoa.
I was digging on watching that thing when we did that summit in Chicago and you singing Oh Happy Day.
What? Well, I'll be.
You were singing Oh Happy Day, da da da, and you were riffing off, man.
It's all your fault.
That was definitely a taste of Dr.
Yeah.
Lonnie. It's all your fault.
Reverend Charles Miller was the fellow. I couldn't think
of course, Charles Miller.
The
Thanks.
great Charles Miller. What a great player he is, and a wonderful man he is. Doc, that night, Doc got real steamed at me because I put him on at the beginning of the show. We had 22 guys, and he was like, "You put me on at the beginning of the show?" I says, Doc, it's like this. We got a bunch of rock and roll guys that are going to be on this thing. I says, I'm putting the jazz guys early. When the audience's ears are accustomed to not being blasted, I says, you're going to have your biggest crowd. I says, and people are going to want to hear you play. I says, and you can play your stuff. You can play your soft, because Doc liked to play soft and
he
easy.
did.
And I says, that's why I'm putting you on. I says, I don't want to put you on later in the show. I said, you can come out at any time. I said, you come in the gospel. I says, but your set, when you do your stuff, I says, I want the people's ears to be right. And he oh, okay, now I get it. He saw that it was respectful. And then he went downstairs and he was in the dressing room and it was, could have been Red Young, Alfredson, and Justin Dillard. Were on stage and they were doing one of Doc's tunes. And I went down to the dressing room. I said, you better come upstairs and hear what this, because they're playing your stuff. and he came upstairs, and then he stayed backstage for the rest of the show and watched the entire show. He liked the rockers. He liked the band I'm in, the Ides of March. He liked the rockers, the blues guys. He loved every bit of it. He loved all music.
Yeah,
When
no
you
doubt.
see some, I'm not going to say anything but a lot of jazz guys will look at rock and roll and go, they'll look down their nose and they'll sneer. And I can understand maybe why they do that, but Doc never did that.
No, he didn't.
Doc
And
never did that. He never looked down his nose at nobody.
you know what? I have a couple other pictures I thought I would share with the audience. Look at this one. Lonnie Smith,
Oh,
number
yeah.
one organist of 1969 by Downbeat.
Yep.
That's Doc without the turban.
That ain't no turban.
No, ain't no turban. Now this is not the one either, but this is, you can just see the music just coming from deep within his soul there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's see what this one is. There's more of that. Now, this next one is really wild. I mean, this is the sage. This is the master. And here is the beginning. 20-year-old Doc.
Yeah, but look at his eyes.
Yeah.
You still see that there's something extraordinary in this fellow. He was, he would tell stories. He lived a great life.
Boy,
and
he did.
and people loved him all the way through.
And by the way, so this is the young guy. This is about how old he was when he used to go into Art Kubera's music store in Buffalo, New York.
Yep.
Doc is, of course, from Buffalo, New York, and I know you know this story, and I know this story, and I think most of his friends know this story. It's a fascinating story because Dr. Lonnie got his first Hammond organ. Will you kind of share that a little bit? And then we've got Doc talking about it here. Go ahead. So Scott, you know how he was given his first Hammond organ?
Oh, yeah. He used to go into Art Kubera's music store every day, and there was an organ in there, and he'd sit there and he'd play around the organ. And Art came up to him and said, "Son, you come into my store every day, and you come right back to the organ, and you sit down, and you play the organ." He goes, "What is it that fascinates you?" And Doc said, "Well, if I had an organ like this, I could learn how to play it, and then I would be able to earn myself a living."
Well, let me stop you right there, and let's have Doc tell the rest of the story.
There you go.
You told me the story one time about how you got your first Hammond organ, and I think that's fascinating, and I'd love to hear that story if you don't mind telling it again.
Oh, I don't remember that.
You remember that. Didn't a guy give you a Hammond organ?
Oh, I don't remember that, Robbie. Art Cabero, Mr. Art Cabero.
Uh-huh.
Walk in, and I wouldn't say anything,
Uh-huh.
I just go up there every day.
Wow.
And he wondered why I came in every day. And he says, "Why do you come here every day and you just..." I said, "Well, sir, if I had an instrument, I'll make a living playing." So he closed the store up, took me back to his house, and he opened that door,
Uh-huh.
and the heavens opened up.
Unbelievable.
Singing and the whole bit. Ooh, it was beautiful, man.
Wow.
That was it for me. I started grinning and grinning. They said, "If you can get this out of here, it's yours."
Wow. But he gave it to you.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Fantastic.
And look what he's given to the world when he gave that organ to you.
Yeah. He gave me something.
But he gave the world something by giving that to you.
Right, he did.
And heaven opened up, right?
Heaven opened up on me. Beautiful, man.
Wow.
I
Fantastic.
couldn't beat that.
Fantastic. Unbelievable.
Fantastic. The voices and everything. He said, "I can get out of here door." Did I get out of it? Yes, I did.
I bet you did.
And guess what it was?
What?
It was in the snow.
Oh, wow.
Heavy snow in a truck with no back.
Oh, man.
And I was hugging the organ all the way.
Well, you've been hugging it for the last 60 years, I guess, too, huh?
Yeah, I've been hugging it. Organ hugger.
Yep. Well, there's something to be said about people who facilitate musicians, and there's still a bunch of them out there. I mean, I had my own Art Cabrera, a fellow by the name of Dan Hagedorn in Chicago, and he helped a lot of musicians in Chicago.
Awesome.
So those guys are out there. We all have our angels, who helped us along throughout the years. And when you hear that story, goodness begets goodness, I think. And when Art Cabrera had to know the doctor's heart was true, and it was right. And Art Cabrera, well, where
And I
would
like to
we
think
be
that
now?
was just orchestrated just right. All the
It was
parts just
perfect.
moving,
Yep, it was just right. And I mean, and I hope Art. Oop, what
No,
happened?
you're there. You're still there.
Oh, that the I hope Art was able to see what happened to Doc. You see, look at that picture there.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like a guru and a shaman. He looks like it, but to know his personality, that he probably looked at the photographer and said, "It's all your fault.
Exactly.
You owe me money." Then he takes that pose and looks like he could like turn you into a newt or a frog.
I love
Or if you had some dirty water, he turned it into Beaujolais.
And how's that for a pair?
Well, I gotta say, Iggy did a great job on this album.
Man. I agree.
He's what? Does Iggy have a fine instrument? Is his voice? Is he Mel Torme? No.
Well, does Bob Dylan have a fine voice?
No.
So what are you gonna do?
But the thing is that, did Iggy sell that song? Those songs?
Yes, he did.
And you know what? There's a perfect example of Doc's philosophy, and Don was. Let's give him some credit,
No
because
doubt.
I mean, if you looked at Dr. Lonnie Smith and said, who is the least likely singer, to do something on a Dr. Lonnie Smith album, boy, I think Iggy Pop would be in that top 5.
He would. I agree. That's so cool. And this record went to number 1.
Yeah. Well, the record is all three of the Blue Note records that Doc did with Don was producing, and that band, the middle one's got all of the horns on it.
Yeah,
they're like, if you got to look at all three of those albums as one album, it's just an incredible bit of music. And if you're a guitar player, listen to it to hear Jonathan Kreisberg, because Jonathan Kreisberg is incredible guitarist.
You know what? I have two. Here's some more Dr. Lonnie musing about Jimmy Smith, from Jimmy Smith to Frankie Valli. Here, check this out.
Well, tell me about Jimmy Smith. Is he the grand poobah of Hammond organ?
Yeah.
Tell me when you first met Jimmy Smith and what he was like to you.
When I met him, it was snowing real bad.
Okay.
He was playing in my home, and I decided to go up to hear him. I had to walk.
Up in Buffalo?
Yeah, in that snow and cold. It cost $5 to get in.
Uh-huh.
I didn't have a $5. So I said, well, I won't get in here. So I stayed outside. Then I saw him another night. He took me to the hotel.
Wow.
Yeah. We were very close then.
Fantastic. Unbelievable.
Yeah, he was something.
Didn't Papa John DeFrancesco grow up near you too?
Yeah.
In Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is something in the water up there in Buffalo.
Yes, it was.
So how old was Joey DeFrancesco when you met him? He must have been a little kid then, huh?
He was a young teenager when I met him. And he's a very sweet kid, Yeah.
I love seeing you guys play together.
Oh, that's terrible.
How did you like coming to see Frankie Valli? What do you think of him?
Frankie Valli, he sings like a horn.
Oh, I never heard anybody put it that way, but that's amazing.
Yeah, he sings like a horn.
He's got an instrument, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. And it's beautiful. Yeah.
How's that angel Holly doing? Is she near you there?
Yeah, she in the other room. He's doing fine.
She's your guardian angel, I think.
Yeah, that's right. That's for sure. She does such a wonderful job.
Actually, I can levitate straight to the organ from here to this. And it's what happens. See, a lot of times a person practice, right? Practicing is not one of my forte. It's when I play, sit down, I'm thinking, something might have come to my head that I don't want to forget, because I can't write it out. I can't write it out. So when I do sit down at the keyboard, it's like something I want to do that comes to my head while I'm there, you know. You see? That's what I'm saying.
That's what he's saying. No question about it, huh, brother?
He made it, and that was an improv. That's him playing off the top of his head. You know, and slow.
Oh, yeah. He wasn't afraid to play slow and wasn't afraid to play soft, was he?
And way harder to do that than it is to play 1,000 notes at triple F.
No question.
You know, I mean, it's, oh, boy.
Well, he is going to be missed. And about ready to wrap this up. We're actually past the witching hour here, if I could for lack of a better phrase. But, man, it's so cool to have you come on, and I knew that you would say yes because you're Scott May.
I am the senior product specialist. That's the term. And artist liaison. I'm also the keyboard player for the Ides of March here in Chicago. And I have a brand new record coming out pretty soon called Isle of View. And November 11th, it'll be out. And then we're talking about the SK Pro, which you've done a great job of promoting on your podcast here, and we've got some other stuff up our sleeves at Hammond, and we're very, very proud to have you as a Hammond artist with us, Robbie. You're part of the family all the way, and thank you for doing this podcast. Thank you for keeping the faith in Hammond and talking about it, and thank you for your support of me, which I really appreciate. And but everybody go out and buy the Dr. Lonnie Smith records. You'll be better for it. It's medicine.
Amen to
Nourishment
that.
and medicine.
You know what? And we're all going to miss him, of course, his music is going to live on with all of our hearts and all of our minds and all of our ears. No question about it.
No kidding.
No kidding. I thought I would take this out tonight with playing a Hammond organ, vintage Hammond organ, with my buddy Warren Ham on the great old hymn, Amazing Grace. And rest in peace, Dr. Lonnie. You are missed, but we so love you so much.
Peace and love.
And God bless that young lady, Holly Case, for everything she has done.
You bet.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next Monday with more Jam and Java. Thank you all so much. Yes, here we go. Good night.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. What was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieve. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. shining as the sun. We've less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Oh, than when we first begun. Than when we first begun. Yeah.